No flag. There's no flag.
They missed the flag. I guess we'll just.
We'll look at Jim's patch.
Jim, just stand there. Everybody face Jim.
This is a little awkward.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands, one nation. I wonder if they took them for the gym already for voting or something.
They probably did.
Oh, good point. That's right. That's.
Well, thanks, Jim, for having your flag on today because kind of put us in a little awkward spot there. But first thing is to approve the agenda. Does anyone have any questions, additions to the agenda as we've got in front of us? If not, I guess I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Second by Sean Ryan. All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Okay, the agenda is approved. First thing on the agenda is, Ken, it looks like we're going to have a public hearing on the liquor license for the Park Ballroom.
Correct. And I don't know if Jim has any prefacing statements here tonight.
Just that the Park Ballroom is looking to get a intoxicating liquor license and Sunday sales for the ballroom. Spoke a couple times with Paul in regards to that. Paul Bush, the commander, he just indicated that they're looking at wanting to be able to provide the alcohol for events rather than have alcohol brought in, just to make it easier for the wedding party and everything, that it's kind of a one-stop shop for everybody. Initially, in both conversations, he indicated they're not looking at having an open bar, an open public bar all the time, because they're not going to staff that, but want it available for events. And they would fall into the criteria for that. There's no disqualifying issues with it. The only caveat to that would be if we are going to issue the intoxicating liquor license, they could at any time, if they decide to have an open bar, that would be under their guise, under this license, they could do that.
Obviously, or not obviously, but Ken, did they pay a pro rata share of a license through a
Yes.
time? Okay, so.
Yep.
Okay, any questions?
So that date is just because that's when the other ones expire, when the annual,
The March date?
yes.
Yes. Yeah, that's when, then they'll have
Other
to
one in the
apply
city
for
will expire that
a
day.
new
Right,
annual
okay.
one. Yep,
So I was wondering why it was 3 months.
okay. Any other questions for Jim before I open it to public comments? Or Ken? Okay, if not, I'm going to open for public hearing. So if there's any public comments regarding this, if you'd please come to the desk, state your name and your address and any comments you would like to make on the Park Ballroom liquor license. Paul, if you would be so kind, if you want to maybe just come to the thing and reiterate kind of what the philosophy is of the Legion, that'd be great.
Yes, as Jim and I had our conversation, it's going to be strictly for anniversaries or wedding receptions, and it's not going to be any different than it is now, except the parties are not going to have to bring in the liquor at the end of the evening, pick it up, take it back. We have locked storage, which we have constructed, that is away from the public. They are not going to have any access to it. We have no desire to open a bar. We'd have to staff that, and the only place that we really could do that if we were to would be in the club room. And that is the furthest thing from our mind, because where we are, it wouldn't make sense. I mean, with all the bars in town, and you know, if you want a hamburger or a pizza, you've got City Club, Pioneer, any of them. So it's strictly strictly events, and that's it. We have always had a corkage fee, which we charged a wedding party, which covered the insurance and the bartenders. Now we are increasing that. That corkage fee now will cover the bartenders, the liability, and the liquor. We found a happy medium. Some of it will cost us more, some of it will cost us less, but that's what we're going to be going with, this standard. Unless they want some outlandish price liquor, then we'll probably be charging them different for that. And if a wedding party wants something special that we don't have on stock, we will make sure we purchase it, and after the evening is done, that will return to our stock. So it's not going to be, I've had people, when they heard we were getting a liquor license, say, well, how much will you charge per drink? That's not what we're after. We're after convenience for the wedding party or the people having a 50th wedding anniversary. So, you know, the last wedding I worked, there was so many cases of liquor that were not opened because, well, we want to make sure we have this. Now, as it turned out, 2 cases of Jim Beam weren't opened and 2 cases of E&J. So it's just going to make it that much more convenient. Everybody I've talked to booking an event liked the idea because that's just one more thing that father or father-in-law isn't going to have to deal with. So any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Jim, I have a question. When you do like a steak fry, you know, on your Thursday nights, are you going to offer the bar to be open?
It'll be pretty much the way it is now, just a beer and beer, wine, and pop. We're not going to even have anything out there.
Okay. Any other questions for Jim? I mean, Paul? Jim. I'm looking at Jim. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Paul. Thank you for your comments.
You bet.
Anyone else have any comments regarding the liquor license for the Park Ballroom? Okay, one last time? Okay, if not, I guess I'm going to make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Jenna Tuma. All in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Okay, the public hearing is closed. Anyone have any questions? If not, I guess I look for a motion to approve the liquor license.
So moved.
Second.
I got a motion by Sean Ryan, second by Amy Jurek, to approve the liquor license for the Park Ballroom. If there's no other comments, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Okay, it passes 4-0. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda has to do with the special assessment. Is this when we going to recertify
Yeah,
the
this will
property?
be the recertification. This item we actually were initially intending to hold the same night as the 2015 CIP assessment hearing process, but we had a little mishap with the notices that failed to go out for that particular meeting. So a little background we had in September 2014, I received notice from the LeSueur County that the property at 118 2nd Street Southwest had forfeited to the state of Minnesota for non-payment of taxes. We also noted at that time that we did have a special assessment on the property from the 2006 reconstruction project. It was a full reconstruct adjacent to that particular property. We had asked the county at that point to notify us when the property had sold, because once the property went tax forfeiture, the certification of the assessment had been wiped off the books, essentially, per state statute. So when it returns to private ownership, we are again able to recertify the remaining unpaid original assessment principal balance. And that amount at this point is $5,812.55. We are proposing this to once again continue at the same term as the other properties in the 2006 CIP project, which is a 5% interest rate. And we are also proposing that simply have this be paid off, the remainder of the balance, within the remaining 6 years that the other properties in that project have to pay. We actually do have the option to extend it to 15 years if the property owner would want to. I don't believe the property owner's here. So I would recommend just sticking with the 6 years and have it paid off. So what we do need to have happen tonight is a public hearing for this matter. And then following the public hearing, we do have attached to the packet the resolution that would adopt the reassessment for this particular assessment for the 2006 CIP. So with that, we can open up the public hearing.
Is anyone, the owner has been notified?
The owner was notified. I have not had any correspondence with the owner. I know Chris Cavett did not as well. So
Okay.
It was received as required by law.
Okay. I guess I'll open the floor up for the public hearing. So if anyone has any comments on this issue regarding the recertification of the assessment on this property, please come forward, state your name and address, and we'll take your comment. Okay, it looks like we have no public comment on this topic, so I guess I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Second by Sean Ryan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Okay, the public hearing is closed. Any questions for Ken in regarding to the recertification? If we recertify, is the owner going to get a notice then?
Yeah,
How
like
does
we
that
do with all the other CIP projects, they'll get kind of a final notice. They could pay it off, obviously without interest, as we had with the 2015 CIP. And then should they not choose to pay, I don't have the exact date in front of me, sometime in December, then it would be certified to the county and placed on their taxes for the remainder of the 6-year balance here, so.
Okay.
So I'm sorry. They have not had any response, you have not had any response?
We have not had any correspondence with them on this, but they did get the notice after originally not receiving the notice.
My only question was the terms, so if they haven't responded.
They have not responded at this point.
What about the interest that accrued from 2006 until now? Does the city, are we liable for that? We write that off, or?
No, we're not able to collect on that per the statute. Unfortunately, the slate is kind of wiped clean, and you can only reassess your unpaid principal amount.
And this is kind of like their due diligence when they're buying a tax forfeited?
Yeah, so we had the notification out there for the county, and had they used the title company, we would have notified them that there was a pending assessment, and we actually did not receive any correspondence from any title company or any potential buyers. Well, we did receive from potential buyers, and they were told this, but not this particular buyer, even at that time. So it was out there and well-known. We did.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any other questions? If not, I guess I'll make a motion to approve the resolution to recertify this property.
Second.
Second by Amy Jurek. If there's no other further comment, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Okay, passes 4-0. Moving right along. This came back, huh?
High tech tonight. We've got maps on the overhead. I don't know if anybody can see that. All right, so after quite a lengthy period of time here, actually dating back to August of 2013, staff and the council both have been working with the property owners of the 1400 block of Jillian Street Southeast on turning over a private road to become a public road. You can see on the overhead, it's really hard to tell the blue color, but basically we're looking at Jillian Street Southeast between Doherty Avenue Southeast and Chalupski Avenue Southeast. That segment of road, it's about 460 feet. They had petitioned for this to become a public roadway. We had a number of issues that had to be taken care of, studying the utilities, studying the road-based surface. We had testing done. We had the association pay for future seal coating once it becomes city property. And then also some legal fees, which we've been trying very hard to keep at a minimum to work through this process here. And we had everything pretty much ready to go about a year ago, and then we ran into some final issues with some association documents that had to be amended, and then some issues with a couple of fences on the south side of Jillian Street that, and I'll show on the overhead here, that were actually in the private road right-of-way. You can see a couple of those off to the side here that we had to get resolved with the property owners, and I'll kind of cover how that was addressed. But number one issue here for your review tonight, and this has been, like I said, ongoing for quite some time, and we do believe we have all the issues finally resolved. So item number one for consideration by the council here tonight would be what Scott Riggs has drafted, and this is basically the same agreement that was used for Village Street Southeast, which was a previous private road just to the west of this property. The street transfer agreement would be approved by the attached resolution that ultimately documents that ownership and maintenance of the street would become the city's, and documenting the payments and other work that had been done by the association to make sure that that was turned over to us in appropriate condition and met all of our criteria before that would happen. So that's item number one that we'd be looking for action on tonight, is approving the resolution to approve that street transfer agreement. Number two.
Ken, why don't we
Yep.
kind of have any comments or questions regarding each piece?
Okay.
And then we'll take action, so that way make sure we get everything properly handled,
Yes,
if that'd be okay.
that is fine.
Okay? Does anyone have any questions? I know Amy and Jenna, I don't think you've had any history on this, being new to the council. I think, Sean, you were on it, on the council originally when it was brought to us. And Ken, maybe you want to just elaborate a little bit on kind of the private road issues that have were
Right.
brought forward, you know, with the Village Street thing, and then with Jillian and the remaining ones that are still existing out there.
Yeah, so back in the early 2000s, we had a lot of development happening. The city did allow some private roads to be installed. Most of them were constructed, and Glenn, correct me if I'm wrong, to pretty close to what we believe to be city standard, but we didn't have any inspections happening on these roadways. Jillian Street was one of them. Village Street, that we've already accepted as a public road, was another one of them. And then Praha, which is very directly northeast of this particular site, is another private road that at this point has not been petitioned to become public. And even the 1500 block of Jillian, that particular association, which is separate from this one, has indicated they would like to keep that private. These roads are typically much narrower than your regular public road right-of-way. They have narrower right-of-way. And like I said, these were not inspected as a normal city street would have been at that time. And obviously, the cost saving was to the developer at the time to keep their costs lower and obviously have a little less right-of-way, fit in some more lots potentially. And we only had a handful of these streets that occurred this way. We currently do not allow public or private streets during the platting process in the city of New Prague. And some of the issues, obviously, is because of this. You have associations that have to keep up the plowing, seal coating, roadway maintenance, et cetera, and the utilities underneath, which is water, sewer, et cetera, storm sewer. And in the case of Village Street, kind of set the stage for how we were going to take a look at those issues. The utilities were all televised in all these cases where we're looking at taking them over. We did, I forget the exact term, the reflectometer radar testing of the roadway subsurface to make sure that it met our city street standard. And in the case of Jillian Street and in Village Street, they both have met that minimum roadway subsurface depth. And really the final thing, we had some storm sewer work that had to be done. We had them pay for for that up front, and then seal coating to kind of pay for the rock chip sealing and everything. That'll be done next year once we formally take it over, but have them, as the association, pay for that prior to the acceptance. So it's kind of a matter of time, these costs for obviously maintaining and keeping up these roads is not particularly affordable in cases of some of these smaller associations. So that's why it was petitioned, and as I noted in here, dating back to November 18th of 2013, the council at that time made a motion to have the process of accepting this particular 1400 block of Jillian Street move forward. So that's what we've continued to work on for past couple of years here, and we've got everything where it should be here tonight. And there are certainly a few hiccups along the way. But I think in the end, the process has worked as it intended and as we had done it once before. Certainly not looking to take over any more private roads, but in the case of these, the petitions were made and they were studied at length. So
So you said there's one more left that we aren't going to be, or two more?
There's an
Yes,
extension to Jillian.
you look on the overhead here, the 1500 block of Jillian, and actually kind of wraps around here. They have not petitioned, and when I've spoken to them, they are not looking to petition to have that become public. And then as well as Praha Street is also private in that general area. The one other one in this general vicinity is Evergreen Avenue, which if you looked at that, it's essentially a driveway for 4 homes, basically just a little bit to the southwest of this area here.
Yeah,
Comes off 5th Avenue and backs up to 10th. So
Glad to hear the ordinance is being changed, that we don't accept these.
yeah, since
future developments.
2010, we have not allowed
Yeah,
this.
it's
Yes.
sad to me that there's no sidewalks on those streets. They're quite narrow.
They are quite narrow.
Good luck, Glenn.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you, Ken, for giving us a little history. I'm sure Jenna and Amy appreciate that. So Glenn, we have a resolution that we need approval on, and then we also have to approve this street transfer agreement.
Yeah, the resolution approves the street transfer agreement.
Oh,
so
okay. So
really
it-
what you would be acting on would be the resolution that's in your packet.
Okay,
And I did have a contingency upon the association amending their declaration. They actually took care of that, so there's no contingency on it. Just
Okay.
approve the resolution.
okay. Any questions, comments? If not, I guess I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Second by Sean Ryan. If there's no other further comment, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Okay, passes 5-0. Welcome to the city. Okay, next, Ken, now we have to look at an introduction to an ordinance regarding the land, or the lots abutting Jillian Street.
Right, so the 5 properties directly south of Jillian Street, at the time we had petitioned, or the petition was received, we had notified those property owners as well. And they were concerned that once it became a public road, it would then, instead of being just a simple private lot line that didn't have frontage on a road, they were concerned that it would actually affect their property usage, and it would have. There would have been a public road right-of-way there, and there would have been a new 30-foot front yard setback, among other setback changes. We had Scott Riggs come in and address the issue. I believe it was at that same meeting, and indicated that we could draft an ordinance that would basically keep the status quo for their setbacks that they have today, would remain their rear lot line at a 6-foot setback for structures rather than a 30-foot front setback because it's along a road right-of-way. And that's essentially what was drafted and is in the packet here. So
Would this be the first reading?
this would be the first reading of that ordinance to basically an ordinance regarding certain lots abutting Jillian Street. So just specifically about those 5 lots on the south side of Jillian Street there. All the 5 owners there had reviewed this actually quite some time ago and were actually quite happy with the results of how it was written. Essentially, so nothing changes for them, other than it is a public road, but it doesn't affect their setbacks, it doesn't affect the use of their properties at all. And so this would be the first reading of that ordinance. We'd look to bring that back at the next meeting here in November for a second reading and adoption.
Do we need to correct the council names on the back of the ordinance?
We will do that for the next reading, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
this
you.
has been so long.
Since we've had one of these, I know.
Yes.
Yeah, if we could get that updated. So do we need to just approve that this is the first reading, correct?
Just introduce the ordinance. Yes.
Okay. Anyone have any questions?
I do. On the previous one, was this the same with the setbacks?
On the other,
The other private one that was.
Village
Jillian,
Street?
Yes.
Village Street, we did not have any issues with that because we didn't have any lots. These become what is called through lots or double fronting lots. We didn't have that situation going on with any of the lots over on Village Street. They already were on, Village Street was a frontage road for them and had the same, actually it was a little bit different setbacks over there due to a plan unit development that was approved, but we didn't have this issue with backyards abutting a private road that was becoming public. This is kind of a unique situation here.
Will that cause any problems for, in the future?
In the
Like
future,
long term?
it should not, no, it shouldn't at all. This is actually the only way that they would not be negatively impacted, and quite honestly, had it continued to remain private, you know, they could have sheds and things go up within that 6 feet of the property line, and that's just what'll continue to happen here today. It's kind of a unique circumstance for those properties. And
Would they be able to access that with a driveway, though, if they so choose?
if they would want to, that would be available as a public road. I haven't had anybody indicate that they're even interested in
Yeah,
that.
I don't think they were. I'm just thinking if the house sells and somebody new comes in,
Potentially could.
does that
The
create any?
narrow road, I don't know that it would be particularly attractive to do that. You know, maybe an occasional
I don't
just
think it-
access into there.
I don't think it would, actually. But that doesn't mean somebody isn't
It
going to
would,
do
it would
that.
be available as a public right of way. We wouldn't have any preclusion on that.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? I guess I'll make a motion to approve the introduction of the first reading of the ordinance.
Second.
Second by Sean Ryan. No other comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Okay, so we will have the second reading with the correction of the council, because obviously, on an ordinance, Jenna and Amy, I don't know if you're aware that we do a roll call on voting. So that's the reason why we have it set up this way. So they will correct to have the proper council names there, so when we do the roll call. Okay? Limited use agreements. Do we have to wait till the second reading on this, or can we approve those tonight?
These can be approved here tonight.
Okay.
All right, so the final item for this particular agenda item was regarding two of the property owners on the south side of Jillian Street. They actually had fences they had installed on the private property of the association. Some of them just were a little over a foot to a little over 2 feet over the property line. That was discovered when the association had a survey done that we required before we took over considered taking over the private roadway. It was explained to the property owners, and specifically it was the Jacobsons and the Weiers on the south side there, and explained to them that they had two options to either remove the fence or work with us to come up with a situation where it could remain in place, although it would be noted in the agreement that we would not be responsible for repairing the fences if snow piled up against them and pushed them over or damaged them. If a plow blade hits them, we would take care of that. Similar to what we do for mailboxes, if I believe that's how we use that language, Glenn.
Yep.
The agreements that they did sign and that are in front of you for your consideration tonight would allow the fences to remain until, I believe it was 2025, December 31st of 2025. And they could be extended should they want to come back to the council and extend that at that time. And again, they both had agreed to that, probably a little reluctantly initially, but you know, having property or an improvement on property you do not know or do not own is problematic for title if you go to sell, first of all, and then second of all, we needed that documented if we were to take this over as we have here tonight. So looking for the approval of both of these agreements, the limited use agreements that are in the packet here tonight, and we would get those recorded on those properties as well. That would document that the fence can remain basically till the end of 2025.
And what happens if the fence gets removed? Is there, then the agreement goes away?
Yes, there's a provision in the agreement actually that it can be terminated prior if there's at least 90 days written notice given to either party. Let's see here. And obviously, if the fence is taken down, we would provide that notice at that time. So, I mean, it doesn't have to stay till the very end.
But if it got taken down, the agreement goes away?
We would have to notify them that it would be
Have to
going away.
notify them then. Okay.
Wouldn't be automatic.
Any other questions? I guess the only question I have, Ken, is on the other properties that do not have a fence, are they aware of the situation that they can't put up a fence or they have to have approval from?
They're aware, as any other property owner would be aware, and they were aware of the situation when it arose at that time, and they did not have any encroachments on either of the three properties that remain there. They just had lawn and no improvements, so. And that would obviously continue to be the case. So we don't require surveys to be submitted when fences are installed. So I think that was probably the issue where these got put up and they just kind of eyeballed it and assumed that they were on their property, and they were not, so.
Okay.
I just have a question on the snow removal. Can you clarify that? So when, because they're close and not where they're supposed to be, I don't think the city should have liability if they were damaged with snow. How does that, can you clarify that?
The way we have it written in the agreement follows our mailbox policy, where if the snow piles up on the fence, or in the case of a mailbox, and it knocks it over, we are not liable for that. But if we physically strike the item with a plow, which would be unlikely, then it would be our responsibility to do that.
Thank you.
So trying to just follow suit, and correct me if I'm wrong,
Nope,
Glenn, on
you got it
that
right.
situation.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Certainly would hope we would not hit the fence with the plow here.
Yeah. Glenn's driving, you never know.
Never safe.
Never say. Do we need to approve each agreement separately?
I would say let's approve them separately, yes.
Okay. Okay, I guess then I will start. If no other comment, I will make the motion to approve the limited use agreement with the Weiers.
I'll second.
Second by, was that you, Jenna? By Jenna Tuma. Any other comment? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Okay, that passes 4-0. And then I guess I'll also make a motion to approve the limited use agreement with the Jacobson.
I'll second.
And a second also by Jenna Tuma. If there's no other comments, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Okay. So we just have a second reading of the ordinance, and we'll have this issue resolved. People on Jillian, thank you for your patience and your hard work for this. We hope it.
I want to thank Ken,
Well,
because whenever I called him with a stupid question, he was always very patient and very kind.
Thank you. You guys are very patient as well. It took a while to get done. So. We'll get you the recorded copy back as soon as we get that done here. Yes. We'll record this one that was approved here tonight.
Oh, okay.
Yep, and we'll get that back to you.
No, okay.
But
And then
everything's,
the street-
We won't be doing seal coating till next year, so, and typically what we do with seal coating is we put flyers out to notify the homeowners that it's happening.
Not the seal coating. We paid for, some,
Storm sewer repair. A lot will depend on the weather. Chances are this late in the fall, we probably won't get to it, probably will be in spring. We're hoping to do it without actually digging up the road. So if we do it, you know, where there won't be no interference with traffic and stuff, then chances are we won't notify you. If we would be digging up the road, then, as in every case, we would notify the homeowners. You bet.
Trust us, Ken hears a lot of dumb questions from us too, so. Excuse me. Next on the agenda is the city-owned strip. On that,
let me grab
another
it.
unique issue here.
All right, so as the council recall, and not all of you were on the council at that time, but back on August 17th of this year, the topic of this narrow 14.5-foot strip of land, which is basically just a series of platted lots, was discussed. That we discovered very recently that the city actually owns those. It had been assumed for a number of years that this was an alley, just due to the width of it, and we had title work done through Scott Riggs's office and determined that, yes, indeed, we do own this strip of property. And Scott's opinion at that meeting was that having continued city ownership of that strip of land was more of a liability than anything. We do have some electric and storm sewer utilities that are basically located within that 14.5-foot strip of land. And one of the items we noted is that we definitely needed to establish a drainage and utility easement over this entire strip. And that's one thing we're looking at doing here tonight. But really what the consensus at the August 17th meeting was from the city council was to contact the 6 adjacent property owners, and I have all their names indicated on the map, and ask if they're even interested in acquiring the property, and if so, what portion, et cetera. I did speak with the 4 property owners that are what I'll just call the southerly property owners, Chris and Lynn Landmark, Elizabeth Connolly, Joseph Cromie, and Gerald Brinkhouse. These 4 property owners have indicated that they've been mowing the area for a number of years and would certainly like to acquire what they've all determined to be their half of the lot. If this were an alley and we were vacating it, half would go to one side of the property owners, the other half would go to the other side. Since it's not able to be vacated because it's simply city-owned property, we do need to actually dispose of the property by selling it to them. They indicated they'd be willing to pay some nominal legal and recording fees, which could be maybe a couple $100 per lot to have a deed put together and get it recorded. So these 4 on the south end are definitely interested in doing that. We have 2 newer owners on the north end, provided letters to them a couple of times and actually tried to stop by a couple of times. Have not had any luck doing that. The other property owners have tried to make contact with them and get them in touch with me, and we haven't heard anything at this point. So really what we're looking for at this point is the first thing we need to do, whether we get rid of the property or not, is establish a drainage and utility easement over the entire strip of land between 4th Street Southeast and 3rd Street Southeast on the north. And Scott Riggs drafted the enclosed declaration of easement. And why it's written up as a declaration of easement is it would be recorded and it would be noted that if we sell the property to future property owners, that easement is kind of memorialized on this title of these properties and would continue to run with the land into the future. So that's why it's written up as a declaration of easement rather than just an easement to the public. We wanted to make it very well known that they're acquiring these, that they can't put buildings in there, they can't do anything other than fences and kind of your general things that are easily removed. So at this point, that's really the only action item that we're recommending is approving that declaration of easement. The other thing that staff is recommending is that you direct staff to continue to work with all the property owners to develop deeds to deed them the properties, but still noting that we have two that may not be interested in talking to Scott on those two properties. We could just continue to own those small areas until somebody steps forward and wants to acquire them. The unique thing that could happen, should you wish to sell, let's say this property owner wanted to acquire all that for a little driveway in, that's still a possibility as well. Or we can just continue to just own some land there until they potentially want it. But ideally, we would no longer have that, but we just can't force the land on anybody. But 4 out of 6 is pretty good for the time being, so.
Are the property owners that you've contacted aware of this easement?
They are aware of the easement, yes.
Okay.
Yes. And all of them just basically indicated, well, I've been mowing that or already maintaining it. Like to just continue to do that and have ownership of it. So obviously none of them saw a big value in it whatsoever, nor do we see a big value in trying to sell it. So we had talked when Scott was here the last time this was brought up that, you know, just having them cover the legal time to draft a deed and get it recorded is probably all we can expect, and it has more value than us having the liability out there of property we don't own and haven't maintained for many, many years.
You think it could be that those 2 homes that you haven't been able to make contact with don't want to have the expense of, even if it's only a couple $100, it's not worth it to them?
You know, in the correspondence I had with them, I didn't even note, you know, what the cost would be, and just said, I'd just like to talk to you, see if you're interested. You know, just that's how I got the other people to come in, and we had private meetings, and I don't know. They are very new owners, both of them. One I think was just in July or August, and then the other one was back in late April when they'd bought. So this was they bought in April, and this one was sometime late summer. So I'm not really sure. I know that this gentleman has spoken with the property owner to the north of them and told them to give me a call and talk through it, and haven't heard anything. So.
Well, I guess my point is do we just pay the recording fees for all 6 of them and just vacate the liability?
But I mean,
Is that an option?
we could.
Is that an option for the
That
council?
would be an option to do that, right. To draft the deed, you know, basically we draft one deed outline, you drop legal descriptions in it, and then, you know, the recording fee is $46 plus some nominal deed tax. You know, it could be like under $60 per recording document. So, nothing huge.
Yeah, my suggestion would be that we just,
But we need to still do this declaration of easement.
Still need to do the easement first, and then we would need to prepare deeds and bring those back to you in the future, because that would be done by ordinance, which, again, takes a couple of readings, so.
Okay. Any other questions? And do you know if there's any other situations that you're aware of that we have something like this going on? Or, I mean, how did we discover this again?
If you remember back in April, we had the property on the north end was going through a sale, and it was discovered through some title work that city-owned right-of-way actually went right up to their front door. So we had a special meeting back on a morning back in April, and we did some more title work and discovered that this property was indeed owned by the city. It was all kind of tied together from actions way back in the 20s, so.
Okay.
Had no idea whatsoever that existed that way. It was tax forfeit property that the city obtained back sometime in the 20s. So.
Okay.
County didn't have, I should give a little more background. The county did not have any property ID numbers assigned to that, or any documentation on it whatsoever. So that's kind of why it was lost for a number of years. It was just assumed it was an easement because there was no underlying paperwork, but it was not an easement, and it was fee title property that we have owned since that time.
Okay. Any other questions? I guess I'll look for a motion to approve the declaration of easement.
So moved.
Motion by Amy Jurek, second by Sean Ryan. Any other comments? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Okay, the declaration of easement has been approved, 4-0. And now, Ken, are you, for the rest of the thing, are you going to just continue trying to get a hold of them, or are you going to kind of look at what Sean suggested, or?
Whatever you guys want to direct staff to take care of, we'll work towards it. We would, yeah, I mean, as soon as we can get this out of our name, we would highly recommend that, and Scott's still pushing for that too, so.
So how do you want staff to?
If we do it for the two that aren't responding, are we doing them for all 6 properties then?
Yes,
Yeah.
that
Oh,
would be
okay,
my,
so just
yeah,
pay the,
just to get rid of the city liability with it. And we'd still need their approval, those two, though,
Yeah.
before we could even give it to them.
Yeah, we can't just, here
And
you
just
go.
say, here, you got
But at
some.
that time, we could theoretically give it to one of the other owners who,
Certainly could. Yep.
I think that makes sense. I don't know.
what do we do if the other owners don't want it? How do you decide which?
well, then we wouldn't,
Battery.
no, I mean, my recommendation would be then we don't proceed any further.
On the ones that,
Right.
yeah,
But I think it, from the city liability standpoint, it makes sense for us to pay the fee, which is not that much, and
It's
just,
not
and just
significant.
give them the 7 feet of land on each side of them, so. I mean, if they're mowing it anyways and have been maintaining it since the 20s or whatever, I mean.
yeah, a couple of them argued that they've been taking care of it. Well, one owner in particular had lived there for 20 years and been mowing it and taking care of it, said,
We're lucky we don't get a bill from them.
yeah, that's what he said jokingly.
Yeah.
I'm surprised I'm not billing you.
So then I guess I kind of agree with Sean then too. I think if they're willing to accept it and it doesn't cost them anything, it would be a nice gesture on the city's part.
So if the Nelson and the Toff families don't respond though, how do you decide what to do with their pieces?
I would offer it up to one of the other houses that theoretically could
for a
essentially put a
driveway.
driveway there
Sure.
if they wanted to, or some type of access back to their
Probably
backyard.
For the
if they want
landmark,
that.
the
to.
It would
landmark
only be
group
the landmark family.
would be the most logical one.
And my
And Mark,
only thing.
even Connolly could have a 7.5-foot strip, to walk through or something if they would want to, but they'd have to maintain it.
If it's not going to cost them anything, I find it hard to believe that the two homeowners wouldn't take an extra 7 feet of property,
And if I contact them again and let them know, then I would hope they'd say, boy, great.
Let's see if we
Just
can
so we
get-
don't end up with 4 other properties that want it, and then it ends up being, you're giving it to them and not me.
So are we in agreement that that's the way we
I think
want staff to go?
Probably the easiest and the most efficient.
Amy, is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's in consensus. Ken, if you could pursue that avenue, that'd be great.
Will do.
Thank you. Jim, I think you're taking the next item?
Yes, a couple weeks ago, Officer Corba had sat down and talked with me and Sergeant Tim Applin in regards to looking to leave the field of law enforcement and talked about resigning. At that time, I advised that I would accept his resignation verbally for that day. He was supposed to work that night for training yet. And then on Monday, the 25th of October, I met with him, received his letter of resignation, and his equipment was turned in. I wished him all the best. He just decided that law enforcement wasn't for him right now, and he was going to return to the airline industry once again. I did, in the memo I just talked about, I did activate the previous hiring list. We did a couple interviews. We'll do 2 more interviews this week on Wednesday, and then 1 follow-up interview on Wednesday, November 11th. Just looking at candidates from our previous list. If a qualified candidate is discovered on that list, then I would look to come back and ask the council to replace Officer Corba. But tonight, I'm just asking that the council accept the resignation of Officer Dan Corba with an effective date of October 21st, 2015.
Tim, is this the man who just accepted the job in September?
Yes.
Was I
August.
August 3rd
Yeah.
was his official start day. Yep.
That's unfortunate.
Any questions for Jim at this time? I guess it's, being that it was not so long ago, at least hopefully you got enough good candidates from the existing group that.
Yeah, I think we have some good candidates to look at. Yeah, we did put some time into that process. And I was looking at interviewing 5 total right now.
Okay, good. There's no other questions. I guess I'll make a motion to accept the resignation of Daniel Corba.
Second.
Second by Amy Jurek. There's no other comments. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Okay, the resignation has been accepted. Thanks, Jim. Good luck in replacing him.
Thank you.
Hopefully that can happen in a timely manner. Okay, we're at the lovely consent agenda. Anyone have any comments, questions on any items in the consent agenda?
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
I got a motion by Sean Ryan to approve the consent agenda. I will second that. If there's no other comments, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Okay, passes 4-0. The fun part of the night, miscellaneous. Jim, you got anything else?
I do not tonight.
Okay. Glenn?
Just a few things. If you have not driven by the baseball field, that's coming along nicely. All the concrete work's done. The roof is going on, the concession in the bathrooms as we, today they finished the plywood. Hopefully tomorrow they're going to do the shingles. The electrician was there today. The plumber was there today. So as with most projects, the last of it is the big push. So there's people crawling over people trying to get everything done. But it's happening, and it's looking pretty good. The other thing I wanted to just run by you is you got an email on Friday about the stormwater ponds. If you saw that, and if you haven't, I can get you the information. What we're doing there is we're finding that a lot of these homeowners are really kind of encroaching onto the property that we'd call the buffer zone or the no-mow zone. I think when the ponds first came about, we didn't say much if they cut 2 or 3 feet behind their property line. We're starting to find structures being built. Walking paths or pavers are being put down. It just affects the whole process of a stormwater pond. So what we're doing is we're going around, and on the property line is we're putting up a sign and basically saying this is the boundary. This is the end of your property. This is the start of the city's property. We've done Heritage area and 1 pond or 2 ponds off of 7th Street, and we've only gotten 1 call, but I wanted to make you aware of it if you do get a call so that you at least know what we're doing. Keeping this buffer zone is nothing but good for the pond. It helps purify the water before it actually gets into the waterway. The other thing that it helps is it kind of keeps the geese away. It's not a free access to water for the geese, so that it's not as attractive to them to sit in your backyard because you got a pond and you mowed all the way down to the water. So those are a couple things. If we ever get to the point where we'll be an MS4 permitted stormwater city, That will be one of the many requirements that will be required as part of that permit, is to keep that buffer zone along with a number of other requirements. So nothing more than information to let you know that this is what we're doing, so that you're not blindsided by a call that comes in. One last thing that we're watching pretty close, we've always borrowed from Scott County a little road grader to take care of our gravel alleys and our gravel roads. We got a little over 5 miles of gravel alleys and roads. Twice a year we borrow this grader, and they decided to get rid of this little grader. And this little grader is the greatest little thing in the world, because you can't go through them with a big grader. They put it up for public auction. They didn't even want to go through the, calling everybody and saying, hey, do you want to use it? Because a number of other cities have used it also, along with us. So we're kind of watching this public auction. Right now the bid is $1,150 on it. If we can get it for a good dollar amount, where we'd have this money in the street department budget, we feel it's well worth buying it. And I've already talked to Mike Johnson about it. He just wanted me to notify you guys, or let you know that this is what we're doing. The auction goes to the 17th of November, so we'll just kind of watch it. Our other option would be, if we don't get this grader, would be to buy an attachment that goes onto the front of a skid loader. Not as heavy, so then you can't cut into a hard road bed as easily. And even that attachment is $8,000 to $10,000 brand new. Again, it attaches onto a skid loader, so it would do the job. This does a little better job. And it's an older grader, but we've used it for all of 7 years now, so we know kind of, we've had it for a week each spring and a week each fall, and we know that it doesn't use oil. We know this, and it's a 1976, so it's probably not going to bring a lot of money, and then I could be wrong, and it might bring a lot of money. If it does, then we're not going to buy it. So nothing more than, again, information. And that's all I got.
Hey, Glenn, do you think it'd be worthwhile to put your little education component in the newsletter that goes out about how
We've done it in the past.
Okay.
And along with this project, it was Mike's recommendation that we also hand out what you got as the email attachment. We're going to be dropping that on doorways. So what we found out in the past is, even though that we tried to do the education in the newsletter and put it on doorways, Ken had a project to do with the same situation in the Parks Department. And after talking to Ken, that's why we got onto the stormwaters for not only the parks, but just stormwater ponds. And Ken says, of all the people we notified, they all knew nothing about it. They all came out and said, what are you doing? So, but, it's an avenue, and we're going to try.
Right.
And our bigger conflict will be the ones that right now have structures built on there. And we're already finding out. We talked to 2 homeowners already, very nice people, but they both said to us, this is the way it was when I bought it. I assumed that was mine. So it's time that we start kind of shutting it down.
I should note, too, for any new plat, with our subdivision ordinance from 2010, we don't allow private roads. We also require park property be signed at every other lot line and the public ponds to have this signage that we're putting up. It's just we're kind of retroactively going back and doing that now. We've marked, I don't know how many parks exactly, and we had a number of encroachments, and I don't know if some of the council might remember, we had one gentleman that had a fence in one of the parks a little bit and was not too happy that he had to move it. But
Did he do that? Did he move it?
he did move it.
Okay.
He's got a little juke as you go
Yeah,
by.
I saw that.
Yeah, it's going to take us a little while. We got 33 ponds to do, so.
How big do we have to get to be certain?
MS4, we're right there.
Okay,
We've been notified that we're in the radar.
okay,
We just haven't seen anything official.
At any time, we could be designated.
okay.
Yep.
That's going to change quite a bit.
Yep.
Then we end up testing all the street sweepings, hauling away as hazardous waste. We end up testing everything we pull from a pond, hauling it away as hazardous waste. We have to do, although we're doing that now as far as routine, checking all the inlets and outlets, and it just gets a little more elaborate because we have to have better maps. Every structure's got to be numbered. We have to have a schedule when it's going to be done. It's gonna take a lot more staff time when this happens in the future. So we're doing a little bit of it now because it's just a good practice. So
Okay, good. Thank you.
population and your activity in the city, and there's a lot of criteria that all falls into place there.
Okay, thank you. Patrick, you got anything? Mary Jo, you've been awful quiet today. Ken?
Nothing more?
Okay, Sean?
Nope.
Jenna?
Good?
Amy? The only thing I have is, as you may all aware, that I do a little article in the utility bill called Minute with the Mayor. And I'm just bouncing this idea off. I was thinking that maybe we should change that and maybe do like a council chat and have some member of the council each month, a different member write an article. And I guess, not that I don't mind doing it, I just think it maybe kind of give a different perspective to what's happening in the council. You know, if it comes from a different council person, then it's always coming from the mayor. So I'm just bouncing this off you guys if you think that would be a good idea. I mean, if you say, no, Chuck, that's yours, you know, I'm fine with that. But it's something I've thought about, that, I've been writing these now coming up on 6 years. And again,
You've been trying to pass it off for about 5.5. So I've heard this before.
Well, I finally brought it up, but it's something, and we don't have to make a decision on it tonight or something, but, just kind of give me your feedback if you think, hey, yeah, that might be a good idea. It can be a twofold thing. It can get the constituents to read it, and I hate to say it, there are a lot of people who do read it. I mean, I do get a lot of comments on it. So, it kind of way to introduce, each one of you too, to the people that get the utility bill. It is a good avenue to kind of talk about things that you may see at a little different perspective than I may see it. So, but I don't need an answer today, but it's just something I think we, if you want to give me your feedback, if like I said, if you guys all come back and say, no, we don't want to do it, it's yours, fine. I'll continue doing it. I think it's a good vehicle. I've had the comments I've had is people like just getting informed on what's going on, and I think it's kind of a nice way to educate them a lot of times on some of the projects that we do, because even though now that we're on TV, they probably do see some more of it stuff, but just kind of say, hey, this is how we've determined this, or like the last article I think I did is something on the LeSueur County meeting that we had and regarding the web page and things like that, and some people are kind of, oh, well, that's kind of neat that you're doing stuff outside the city also. But just keep that in mind. Again, I'm just looking for feedback because I got to have mine done by Thursday, or I'll have to go to the principal's office.
8 a.m.
8 a.m. I'm gonna wait. See what kind of trouble I can get if it's like 8:30.
We'll just put your picture really big over it.
Yeah, dartboard. But I just, like I said, I think I've talked to Sean about it before, and so. But that's all I have. But like I said, just give me your feedback if you think that would be something. And again, maybe if you don't want, if we, with 5 of us, really that's somebody doing, not that many a year. But you got to pay attention to Ken's deadlines because you can be in big trouble.
Ultimately, the utility bill's got to go out. So that's what I'm pushing.
Yeah, can't hold up.
They're yelling at me.
Yeah,
Get that out.
That's right. That's all I have. Okay,
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? We're out of here. Thank you, everyone.